Welcome everyone to us in Darkei Gemara. We're proceeding here to the penultimate chapter. We're almost coming close to the end. This chapter divides. This is a different approach to learning. It's more involved in the use of language, the mashma'us of language. Now, if I would try to explain the difference. The essence here in Derek Tfunos is really getting to Svaras. And Svaras come from understanding text, but it comes from not only, it comes from stripping away the text, so to speak, and getting to the essential discussion. Now, to do that, we have to learn how the Chachamim express themselves. The Ramchal does talk about in Derek Tfunos. Some people, it's very important to understand the style that people speak in. The Chachamim speak in a very abbreviated style, and they have key words which indicate key processes of thought. The Ramchal wants to take all that language and abstract it into his system, and to say, let's strip it all down and break it down into just tell me what statements you want to say and what's your proof for it. That's what he wants us to do. But in order to get to the place of statement and proof, we have to know how language is used stylistically. That's one big difference here that we're going to be set. The Darkei Gemara is more interested in the style of language and that type, and how that style communicates ideas. The other important difference here in the Sefer is what we call the Havamina, what I would have thought. The Ramchal concentrates on what is said and what we can derive from it. Let's go forward from that. What are you saying? What's your subject? What's your predicate? What's your proof? And now we'll go forward and we'll build Hikashim and worlds, fine, or we'll even analyze what you say. The Darkei Gemara is involved in Chiddush. In Chiddush. What's Chiddush? Chiddush is a concept that you would have thought differently. So the Torah is coming up to teach us something that you would not have thought of as a simple human being. Okay? So it's a new level and a new way of relating, whether it's chukim like tefillin or whether it's doing chesed of giving 10, 20% of tzedakah. Whatever it is, it's a new way the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us to relate to reality. So you can be a very nice guy and be a part of the Hasidei Olam, be very nice and get credited as a guy, but the Kodesh Baruch Hu decided we're going to now up the ante. We want you not just to do 7 mitzvahs and to be a nice person, a nice human being. We'd like you to be a 613 mitzvah person. That takes you into a new level, what we call Kedusha. So the Darkei Gemara is interested in understanding the Chiddush of Torah. So I give a little example of what that means, just to warm us up a little. If I ask you, does the sun go around the earth? Does the earth go around the sun? So nowadays everyone says, well, of course the earth goes around the sun. Okay, but that actually was a tremendous Chiddush, we said. Why was it a Chiddush? What would you have thought? Well, you would have thought by looking out your window that
you see the sun moves.
The earth.
Right.
So, yeah, you see the sun moves around. It rises in the east, and it's moving. We're still, right? And it goes in a nice circle from the east to the west as the day progresses. So that's what you would have thought. So then who created this unbelievable Chiddush, which our eyes don't see, called the earth's going around the sun? We don't see the earth moving at all. Okay, so we know it was an old Greek machlokas, and Copernicus came up and brought it back to into the favor of the world, even though the church didn't like too much. and he tried to show mathematically that it was true because of the contradictions between the movements of certain planets, that they don't move in a circle, they move forward and back. Well, we won't get into all those proofs, but it turns out all his math was wrong, but the idea seems to have been correct. At least the space shuttle seems to think though, so might as well hold that. But the point I'm trying to bring is that, well, that was a chiddush to say that the sun, excuse me, goes around the earth, that the earth goes around the sun, because it's not intuitive. That's not what we see in our physical senses. So if it's not intuitive because our physical senses say otherwise, then you have to bring a proof to it. So what was the proof? So he brought a proof through the various movements of Mars and how it goes back and forth, and therefore he could explain that anomaly better than the geocentric people. Now, of course, the geocentric people also got rid of that anomaly. They did it with epicircles, and you can look there at the Rambam's explanation how it works. They also had the problem. They also gave it teretz. Okay, but his teretz was a lot neater. Their terutzim required, although they worked, their terutzim with the epicenters, they tried a lot of mathematical permutation. That's okay, it was complex, but his was more elegant. So anyway, what I tried to bring here is he had a chiddush in the world, like Copernicus, okay, and therefore he had to bring a proof. And then you have to ask yourself, well, wait a minute, if that was a chiddush, what did people think before that, and why did they think before that? And that's really the Darkei Gemara. The Darkei Gemara wants to know what's the chiddush by determining what is it saying more than what we would have said. And that's that juxtaposition between what we would have thought and what the Torah is telling us to do is an essential part of us being Jewish people and not being Irish or Italian or anyone else. So that is the secret which is revealed in the Darkei Gemara. The idea that the Chachamim are always telling us things that you might not have thought because you would have thought something else. Therefore, it's a book of chidushim, a new way of being, a new way of understanding. And since it is, we need proofs because it's a chiddush. Now, the Ramchal will tell you we need proofs because everything needs a proof. I mean, how do you know anything is true if you can't prove it? It's just a concept, it's a theory, it's an idea. But the Darkei Gemara says when it comes to Torah, the reason why we need proof is because you would have thought different. Okay, you would have had a Sfar Chitzona. And therefore, to tell us the new concept, a new way of being, a new way of relating, came along the Pasuk, came along the Mishnah, came along the Amarim, and they had to tell us these new ideas which we would have thought differently. Okay, so that's basically the difference between the two Sfarim. Okay, it's very dramatic. It's not simple, and it has a lot of ramifications. So we said that in order to find out chiddush, so of course we have to know how the language works, not only understanding the words of Hebrew and Aramaic, but also what is considered a legitimate proof and what's called a non-legitimate proof to an idea. So here he gave us, in the first half of this chapter, he gave us some keys to the stylistic ways of how the Gemara operates. Now the last two here, Kamashmalan and Mishnah, he doesn't explain. It's somehow missing from the book, but it is found. Peshita he's going to talk about at the end here when we talk about the Ma'amatan, and Mishnah he spoke about earlier in the text, and we're not going to go over them today. So here he has this list here, and this is a list of key words used in the debating process. Now, when we talk about the debating process, we're not just talking about debate. We're trying to analyze. What Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us to do. In order to do that, we're going to have to bring proofs, and we're going to have certain ways that we're going to determine that things are true. So again, he's more linguistic. The Ramchal will cut all these words down to say, look, please. Tell me what statement you want, what proof you want, and I don't really care so much about the stylistic way you're doing it, but in order to get to that abstract way, we have to go through the language itself. So he's defined here a group of 27 terms, the basic operating words that are used in the Gemara. And we'll see them repeated many, many times in many stuff. If, of course, we had these all on our heads, then when it came to discussing a problem, we would very easily be able to pull out 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe all 27 of them in any text that we're analyzing. And that's the idea. The idea is to, again, give us a toolkit of concepts that we're familiar with, so that when we're discussing any concept, any Torah concept, we'll be able to use the tools that are appropriate. So we have to know what tools they are, and then we can use them effectively. So here, the first one he speaks about here is Bishlema L'Didi, U'Ledidach Minicha. These are the two opening concepts, and L'Taimech. So let's see what he says here. He says like this. Remember, now we're talking about the debating process. We're not talking how language works with afalpis, but we're talking about how people argue with each other. Okay, so one of the ways is called Bishlema L'Didi, he says. That means, according to my theory, the text that we have here works out very well. Okay, but according to your theory, it's going to be very difficult. And we're going to have an example of this, and we're going to go through it together. But first, let's get the abstract concept. So he says like this: Bishlema L'Didi, hu kesha hamaksha hiksha keneged chavero, v'yira sheyiksha kenegdo gam ken oso kusha, v'yashiv lo hamuksha L'Didi didach minicha. Now this is now I'm going to read the whole thing. V'hu mizdares b'techilas tavarav umara she'en lo kusha mimeno. When a person says Bishlema L'Didi in his world, he's saying, look, don't think that this text is difficult to me. Okay? It's only going to be difficult to you. That's what Bishlema L'Didi means. Now, when you understand this, you're going to have to now analyze things in that way. In other words, I would have just learned before I came to the Sefer, Bishlema L'Didi means I have no problem with the text, and you do. And it's almost Peshita that I have no problem with the text. But according to him, it's a chiddush that I have no problem with the text.
Because otherwise it could be a question. Otherwise, he's telling you when he's saying that you could ask me, but I do have an answer.
100%.
Right. In other words, there's a difference. There's a difference between not having a question and having a question and having an answer. So you're saying you do have a question, but I do have an answer. Okay.
Exactly. But you don't have an answer.
Right.
That's what he's saying. Okay. Hu kashamaksha hiksha keneged chavro. It's a person who he's now attacking his friend. The yirashe yiksha kenegdo gam ken also kusha. And it could be that this kasha that he's asking could rebound on himself. Right. V'yashiv lo hamuksha. And the person then, if that's true, will say l'didach minicha. If he presents a difficulty and the difficulty exists on himself, then the other person should say l'didach minicha. In order to say to the other person, relax, I already solved this problem, he says Bishlema L'Didi. So hine hu mizdarez b'techilas divarav. The person saying Bishlema L'Didi is quick to open his statement, umar she'en lo kush mimenu, and to say, look, you may think that this statement has a difficulty to me. I'm telling you it doesn't. And this is like v'chitem. And if you're going to say that this is difficult to me, it's not. In other words, Bishlema L'Didi is saying, I have an answer for this text. Okay? And if you say even I have a problem, don't worry, I've solved that. Now, the second one he talks about is the response. Okay, so normally when a person says Bishlema L'Didi, so he should be free, even though he has an understanding of the text that should free him. So his opponent will sometimes say, wait a minute, my dear friend, what do you mean b'shlem l'didi? U'l'didach minicha. Wait a minute, even according to you, this text doesn't come out good. It comes out difficult to you. Hu kasher hamaksha hiksha l'chavaro, v'oso kusha hi kenegdo gamken. He says that when a person asks a kasha, and the opponent says, wait a minute, you who are asking the difficult to me have the same kasha. Hu kasha hamaksha hiksha l'chavaro, yes, kasha percent, but also kusha hi keneged gamken. It's also against him. As yane hamuksha, the person who's being attacked, says, u'didach minicha. So that's I think they call it sortie, I think they call it, but that's the process here. So when he's attacked by saying v'yoshiv lo hamaksha b'shleim l'didi. So in other words, as we said in the beginning, when the person says b'shleim l'didi, there's a hidden kasha to himself, and he's telling you, no, I can solve that. So even if you're going to ask me about the kasha, I'm going to solve that for you. But I'm warning you ahead of time. I thought about the solution, but you are going to be caught. Now, related to b'shleim l'didi, excuse me, u'l'didach minicha is l'taimech. Okay, l'taimech, and he makes a split here, which we're going to have to investigate. I think there's a little bit of a problem in the text, and I'm going to tell you my understanding and why I think it's difficult and what he said. He says like this: "Uletaimech hu karov inyan zeh." When you say, and according to your reasoning, that's like also saying you're in difficulty also, right? Like ulididach minicha. So he says it's very close to ulididach minicha. Ella shaha hefresh b'neihem. What's the difference between ulididach minicha and l'taimech? Now here I changed the text. The text that I have in front of me says ulididech minicha hu kasher oso kusha atzmo hu mamakam acher. He says, and I would like to change it ulitaimech, and I'll show you why. Ulitaimech is that what you're asking me is difficult to you from an external source. In other words, your shita also is difficult, not from this source. If it's from this source, I say ulididach minicha. But if it's from the external source, I say ulitaimech. How does this other case work? Okay. Now the reason I said that is because if we go back to the text that we mentioned earlier, in the Sefer, it's like this. He says, "B'kol kasha." This was in chapter 4. He said, "B'kol kusha shemaksha lo hamaksha lemataretz." Anytime an attack is made on a person who's giving a solution, or a person who's attacking his opponent, he's a machlokas, having mistakel im also kusha omedes gamken etel sforos hamaksha atzmo lo. Always look when someone's asking a kasha and he's holding a certain shita and he's asking a kasha to the other shita, whether that kasha exists on his own shita himself. That's what he tells us to do here in this chapter. He says, "Ulezet timsa shoma pamim harbe b'shlem l'didi nicha el l'didach." That's why the Gemara always says, as we're learning now, there's a defense being made when I'm bringing this attack on you by saying, this attack, of course, I'm going to have an answer, but you're not. If the kasha does not rebound on the person who's asking it, he will telegraph it and say, I have a solution to this one. But if it does rebound on the person who's asking the difficulty, now here's the point I want to say. Maksha l'svaris chavaro, when a person is asking against a concept of his friend, v'gam ken etzel svaraso yesh kusha mitzad acher. But this, but there's a difficulty, even according to his reasoning, and he says here mitzad acher, from a different place. Yomer chavaro. So here it seems rather clear that l'taimech is saying, look, you think that you're home free with your idea, right? But I'll take your kasha and I'll show you from a different text that's going to rebound on you. Okay?
Yeah, it seems pretty clear. I mean, he says
Okay.
Mokanacher.
So, yeah, he says it clear. So that's why I just changed it. I'm a nervous guy, so I hate to change text, but that's what I did. All right. Now, here I have some examples, okay? So let's see if we can see. We're going to bring an example here of l'taimeich, and want to see how, we're going to show that that's going to be an external example, and see an example of l'dideich, okay, which is going to be internal. Okay, so l'dideich is internal, friendly, internal, and so let's do this one first. I tried to pick simple examples, but everything's simple to simple. Nothing turns out to be simple. Even though I search around for things I don't have. I just look at these databases and I search for them. But Torah is not simple. What can you do? That's the reality. If it was simple, then it wouldn't be coming from Kodesh Baruch Hu. Anyway, it says like this. We have a Mishnah. Let's try this Mishnah in Avodah Zarah. Okay, Mishnah says like this. You ever do Avodah Zarah? Hamocher yaino lenachri. Now you want to sell wine to a goy. So we're not talking about boiled wine, we're talking about fresh wine, and you want to sell him some wine. He's allowed to drink some wine, you're allowed to sell it, no problem. So the Mishnah tells us what we have to do. What we have to do is pasach ad, to two cases. Pasach, if he made a price with the goy, ad shalom madad, but he didn't pour the wine into the pitcher, like the nochri comes over and says, I'd like to have a quart of wine. So what they used to take from the barrel, they poured into his pitcher. Okay, so if they agreed on a price before the Jew poured the wine into the guy's pitcher, so then the damav mutarim, then the money that the Jew is going to get from the guy is permitted. Okay, we're going to be talking about l'chari here. We're talking about yayin nesach. I have to know that other rule here that a guy that moves wine, so we can't drink it there because maybe they do avodah zarah with it. So now I'm going to get into the details. Okay, so if we agreed on the price before the wine was poured into his pitcher, so then the Jew can take the money from the goy. Okay. Now, what's the problem of taking the money from the goy? Because if it turns out that the goy touched the wine before the Jew sold it to him, so then that's yayin nesach. You can't get hanol from yayin nesach. Okay. So that's the problem here. So the Mishnah says over here that if they agreed on a price before the pouring, so then the Jew can get his money. But modad achelo pasach, but if they didn't agree on a price and the Jew just poured the wine in the pitcher, so then he can't get the money from the guy. Dama v'surim. It's called yayin nesach, and he cannot get money for it. He can't get anor from yayin nesach. Okay. I brought Rashi here, and that's a simple. Okay, let's read Rashi just to get a little more involved in details. Okay. The Mishnah says, Hamocher yaino le'avid in the first case, and it says, if you agree on a price first and then do the pouring, then you can get the money. Pasachimo ma'us ad shelo madad, dam of mutarim, Rashi says, mufarish b'gemara, which we're going to get into, time. We're going to explain what is the reason why the money, you can take the money. Okay. So there's a machlokas. Some people say in the Gemara the reason why the money is mutter is because when a guy is moshech the kad, he acquires it. Hilkach keshamoded hainu meshicha, since he pours it in and the guy is taking it. V'kinui avikachavim miyad, and the guy acquires it immediately. The Havilei Yisrael Zuzeh Gabe David Kachavim Bahalbo, and the money is just a loan that the Jew has to get back from the guy for the wine. Lo Havi Achinogabe. So he's not touching the wine yet, he's acquiring it. So it seems, I can't get into the depth of this, but simply speaking, according to one opinion, since the Mashiach is happening, so, and the Negiah of touching the wine happens afterwards, so the wine that was sold was not called Yayin Nesach. Okay? What about the Sefer? There's a problem in this Mishnah, because the Sefer says, but if you pour the wine first and then you decide on a price and you can't have the wine, I mean, you can't take the money. Why? Here's the other side of the machlokus. There's certain people say, no, this is a raya that the Mashiach doesn't work for a guy. Okay, we're talking about whether the Kinyan Mashiach works for a guy and not only Kesef. So some people hold that a guy cannot acquire the Mashiach. So that's the other opinion, and the Sefer works good to him. Why is it also if you pour it in first? The because he doesn't acquire by Mashiach. The came into lo pasak tamav lo samcha daite. Since you didn't make a deal about the money, so he doesn't care about this pulling. Hilkach ki nogeya bo havi shel nesach Yisrael. Since you didn't make a price in the beginning, put it that way, so when he pulled it, which has nothing to do with he can't kona the item, and therefore he touches the item before there's a kinyan, it's yayin nesach, you lost your money. Okay. Now, the Gemara we're going to see in a second, okay, this is going to be a complicated Mishnah because Rashi just explained, gave us a hint here. There seems to be a contradiction between the Reish and the Sefer, but let's get into that a little more slowly and try to understand it. So like I said, I tried to make an easy example, but nothing's that easy. Okay. Omar le markashisha bere de Rav Chista the Rav Ashi. So, Mar Kashish Bered Rav Chista asked the Kash to Rav Ashi, Tashma. Let's look at our Mishnah. Hamochi Yain Lev Kachavim. You sell wine to a Nachri. Pasach Shalom Madad. If you made a price before you spilt out the wine, so then you can take money for it. It's not called Yain Nesach. Now, here's what he says. Ve'iyah Marta according to Rav Ashi, a guy cannot do Meshicha. It's not a form of kinyan that he has. Okay? Machlokas, other people say, no, a guy can do Meshicha. So here's an attack on Rav Ashi. If you're going to hold, says Markashisha, the Rav Chista, that like you do, that there's no such thing as Meshicha with a guy, so then how could the money be mutar? Okay? In other words, if you're going to say there's no Mashiach, so big deal you agreed upon a price, right? But he never was, he never was kona anything. When you poured the wine in there and he pulled it, so that didn't do anything. So that's Yayin Nesach. You never sold anything. There was never a kinyan there. So it's just as if he touched your wine. If he touched your wine, then how can you get the money? So it can't be that, if you say that Mashiach is Kona, so you'll say that his action of pulling and touching happened simultaneously, let's say, okay? So big deal. I mean, so he was Kona the wine, and then he could do what he wants with it. It's his wine. He can do what he wants with his wine. I just can't get Hanor from my wine. He can't mess up my wine and sell it. So that's the kasha. If you want to really hold that Mashiach B'Ovid Kachavim is not Kona, so then how could the Reish of the Mishnah say that you can take the money? He didn't acquire anything, and therefore he touched the wine. And later on, big deal, he's going to give you money, but that's money for wine that already was Yain Nesach. That's the kasha. So that's a proof that he wants to bring a proof that it must be that there was a kinyan. So Rav Ashi is undaunted, and he says, no, I'll tell you, I can hold that really Mashiach is not Kona, and I'll explain to you why it was mutter. Hachig ma'askinan da'agdin le'dinar. What's the Mishnah talking about? Even though it doesn't say, that the guy actually gave a dinar, a coin, to the Jew when he bought the wine. strange. And that's what happened.
Right.
Mark Kashisha Bereder of Chisda doesn't buy that. He says, wait a minute. Ihachi, if that's true, that he paid money for the wine, and that's the problem. So let's read the Sefer of the Mishnah. Moded Achelo Pasuk Damav Asurin. He poured the wine, but they didn't make an agreement on the exact money, so it's aser. V'i the kadam le dinar amai damav asurin. Wait a minute. If you already gave him some money, so he did the acquisition with the money in advance, so why should it be aser? And that's what he asked. So here's the didach. Okay, so now Rav Ashi's on the defensive, right? Because the sefer of the Mishnah doesn't work out according to him. If you already gave him a dina, very nice. Now he can explain why the ratio. He can give the guy. He can get the guy's money because the guy paid for it or some of it, whatever. But and it's his, so it's just a down payment. Maybe the rest of the money is a loan, whatever it is. But he did kinyan kesef. So now why in the sefer, if he did kinyan kesef, all of a sudden is it aser? He bought it with money. Well, so Rav Ashi's undaunted, and he says, "Uladidach the Marta Mashiach Bavut Kachavim Kona Amai Reisha the Mutar and the Sefer the Mavisarin." So here we see clearly. Uladidach means here's the same text. I'm going to take the same exact text that you threw at me and said I can't explain the Sefer. And I'm going to throw it right back at you, and I'm going to say, even according to you, who says Mashiach Bavut Kachavim is Kona, right, you're going to have the same difficulty too. You won't be able to explain this Mishnah. The Sefer is going to turn out good to you, but the ratio won't make any sense. Okay, so here's the rule. You see, the didach means I take the same case that you brought up as an attack on me, and I throw it right back at you. Okay, so Omalei ulididech damarta Mashiach Bavut Kachavim Kona. You disagree with me. You say a guy can do a Mashiach and it works. So that's what the ratio is great that the money is mutar, but you can explain the sefer. If Mashiach works, so why is in the sefer? Excuse me, that's wrong. I take that back. Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. I didn't say it right. Okay, let's go again. So Rav Ashi's on the ropes because he can't explain why if Mashiach is not Kona, the ratio is mutter, right? So he answered because he gave money. So Mark Kashisha Bereder of Chisda says to him, wait, if he gave money, so then why in the sefer is it usher? He gave money. So Rav Ashi comes back and he says, is that what you asked me, the contradiction from the ratio to the sefer? You have exactly the same problem. So don't ask me that problem. The problem is not only my problem, it's your problem too. It's Mishutefes. Overlay. You hold very good. That Mashiach is Kona. Very good. And that's why the sefer is mutter. So why is the ratio asa? What's the problem? Mashiach. What did the sefer say? Okay, excuse me. What did the sefer say? Let's read the sefer.
Let's go back up. There we go.
Yeah. Here we are. If he poured it out and they didn't agree on a price, then the money is usher. Why? If he poured it out and that was Mashiach, right? The Mashiach is Kona, so why should the money be usher? Right?
Right.
He did a Mashiach. It shouldn't be usher. So you have the same problem. You're good in the ratio, but the sefer is you're terrible. So you're going to have to answer me with a chilik, right? Right?
Right.
Ella, ma'is. What are you going to tell me? You're also going to have to make a sila. You're going to have to say, Pasach samcha daita, lo pasach lo samcha daita. You're going to have to say that this Mishnah is not talking about whether Mashiach is Kona or not Kona. It's talking about whether when you agree on a price, the guy is serious about it or not. Let's see. Elamayis chalamema, pasach samcha daite. When the guy makes a price, he is serious. In other words, really, it's like I'm saying, says Rav Ashi, money was given by the guy to the Jew. The only question is, was there a Gemiras Das when he gave the money or not? It's a whole different case, whether there's a Gemiras Das. So you're going to have to tell me what, according to you, Mashiach of the Kohen is Kona. So the Reishi is saying he was, let's get the Reishi again. Oh, it's complicated. Pasach ad shelo madad. They made a price. He paid and made a price. Then the damav is mutarin, because according to you, there was Mashiach there, right? But but according to you, why is it usher when he poured it and they didn't agree on a price? So you're going to have to answer me, really Mashiach is Kona, but the problem is whether he was serious about the deal by making the original agreement about the money. Okay. Is the non-agreement about the money, is the guy going to retract or not? Is that called a real agreement or not a real agreement? So if they do a price, really according to you, Mashiach is Kona, right? The only question is, if he first pours the stuff and he doesn't say anything about the price, right? So again, Modat Achlo Pasach means what? That he poured the stuff out and they didn't agree on the price. So the Dama of Zisurin, because since he didn't agree on the price, the Mashiach didn't mean anything, right? Really Mashiach is Kona, but we don't know if we have a real Mashiach here. Because maybe since the price was never spoken about, he's not going to agree. So that's what it is. Pasach ad shalom, that if he agrees on the price and everything is good, then we know that the Mashiach works. But if he never made an agreement about the price, that's what you're going to have to tell me. So then his Mashiach didn't Kona because he never really wanted the deal. So then I'm going to answer the same way. Let's see. I'm going to answer the same way. Okay. The nami, afal gav de kadam le dinar. Even me, well, how did I have to answer? Really, Mashiach doesn't work. So he paid with money, right? But the Mishnah is trying to tell us, even though he paid with money, right? If we made a deal on the total cost and he paid me some of the money, so then then he's serious about it. But if we never did a deal, right, even though he gave me a dinar, but we never decided exactly how much it was, so then he doesn't, the deal is no deal. Okay, so really, it was a kinyan kesef, according to me, because Mashiach doesn't do anything. But even with a kinyan kesef, if we don't specify how much the contract is going to be, he's not serious about it. So what we did was we shifted the stance in this Mishnah, and we said we're not talking about Bechlal, whether Mashiach is Kona or not. That's not the issue here, because really, according to Rav Ashi, it's really talking about Kesef, Kinyan Kesef. The only thing we're talking about is whether there's a serious deal if there was no complete contract. That's what this mission is talking about. So since you also had to answer a similar way, right, about whether the guy is serious even when there's a Kinyan Mashiach, I'd use the same concept here when it comes to Kinyan Kesef. Okay, so what we tried to demonstrate here, and I hope I was communicating a little bit, if not everything, we took the same text and we said, you think this text is good to you? No, it's you have a problem. You see, you're fine when we talk about the ratio, when you hold it Mashiach is Kona, that's very good according to the ratio, but the Sefer doesn't make sense. So don't ask me the kasha from this text, because the way you're going to have to explain the text, I'm also going to explain it the same way. So it doesn't matter whether it was Kinyan Mashiach here or there was no Kinyan Mashiach and there was Kinyan Kesef. This whole text is talking about whether a guy will somech if there's no complete contract. You know, you go into the cab and you don't make a price. Well, that's the issue here. So That's lidach minich. I take the same text that you brought against me, I throw it back at you, and I show you that you have to make an akimta, and with that same akimta, I will get out of my problem.
Right. So you have a. All right. Bottom line is you have a proof that lidach is from the same. It's from the same sugya, the same text. That
exactly. From the same text. Now let's look at the Taimech. Okay. Now the Taimech is from a different text. Okay. Here's we did this.
Is it very long?
Excuse me?
Is it very long involved Gemara here?
No, it's very. This one's very easy because we did it before. Okay, I'm going to go very quickly in it. Okay, because I just like to finish this issue. Okay, this is an easy one. We did it in Tfunos. It says if you damage, if you do nazikin on Eved Kanani, you chayev. So that's the Tanakama. But Rev Yehuda says you're not chayev, you're patur. So the Gemara wants to know, why does Rev Yehuda disagree? And he says that you're patur if you damage your Eved Kanani. So he says, because the pasuk says ki yanatzku anashim yachdav ish v'achav, when two people fight, one with his brother, mi sheyesh lo achva yetzeh evet she'en lo achva. He says you only have to pay nezikin for your brother, a full Jew, not for a partial Jew. So the Gemara says Rabbanon Achav. So how do Rabbanon say that you're chayev? It says Achav in the pasuk. So they say it just means Achav in mitzvah, since it says Eved Kanani has to do mitzvahs of a woman, so he's in the box. So Achav didn't mean Achav 6:13. It just means 7. Okay. Ella. So now we attack the Rabbanon. Ella me'ata le Rabbanon Eved Yehei Kosher Malchus. We say now I'm going to bring an attack from an external source. You see, not from Nezikin at all, but an external cause. According to you, who holds that when the Torah says Achav, it just means a brother. It doesn't have to be 6:13. So then let him be king also. We know he can't be king. So the response is Ulataimech. I'll take that external case and I'll show you it's not good to you. Excuse me. I'll take you asked me a case. I'm sorry, from the king. I will take another case. Excuse me, not the case of the king, but the case of a ger. And I'll say the Taimech, an external case of a ger, everyone holds a ger can't be a king, and yet it says the word achva. So even according to you, who says achva means 6:13, right? So according to you, a ger should be a king too, because he's 6:13. You have a problem with a different text. Ella, what are you going to answer me? The pasuk says about king, nikerav achicha, mivchar achicha. When the pasuk says a king, it means the best of your brothers. Okay, and that's what gets rid of the ger. Okay, so if that's the best of your brothers, is the only thing. So just like you tried to bring a raya against me from the ger, because if achva doesn't mean 6:13, so a ger should be a king. So I say, wait a minute, can a ger be a king? So
since the ger can't be a king,
because you're forced to say. No, but you're forced to say, because the pasuk says that pasuk's talking about a special thing, that you have to be the best of your brothers. That's why. So I removed your objection to me from that pasuk that a ger should be an eved should be king, by showing you that a ger can't be a king either, because that pasuk has nothing to do with us, because it's talking about nivchar. Okay, so I removed the external attack on me. Okay, so that's it. That's what it is. Okay, so we'll